All right, we should be live on everything. So, official this time, guys. The Contractor Compass, episode 5. I think this is.
Yes.
I sent obviously sent the topic out to you guys beforehand. Today, not incredibly a lot of time beforehand, but today we're going to be talking about recruiting and keeping good technicians, good laborers. Honestly, we can expand this to any industry. I said insulation, HVAC industry, right? But this could go. This is a massive issue everywhere right now.
Yeah. Gosh.
I
Yeah.
mean, and I can't speak to how long it's been like that, right? Because I mean, I'm 5 years into the industry and talking to these business owners, right? Where, I've heard it always since the beginning, but and then how long has it been a problem? I don't know. Keeping good people, people getting poached, or you trying to poach people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's a huge deal. So I mean, we can keep it around what we're going to know best in terms of the HVAC and the insulation industry for me. But just starting off, I think we should start with just first step one for a normal business owner. How do you go about finding these people? Right.
Yeah.
We can get into keeping them, right? But how do you go about finding good technicians? You're you're doing X amount of revenue a month. You're a mom and pop shop right now. You wanna, get more into the office as the owner. You got to find good people to replace you. How do you go about finding those people?
Jason could probably speak to this better, but one of the things that we do at ATC is, our technicians that we have now know other people, right? They
Yep.
know other technicians and give them a bonus of, hey, you bring me somebody that I hire, and we bring them on, and they start and what have you. That will pay you $100 or $200 as far as bringing someone as a little bit of a bonus structure to bring people that they know to the industry.
Absolutely. Talent knows talent. We do that in the firm as well. That's 100% agree with that. What are your thoughts on that, Jason?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to be, I mean, this is like since the beginning of time, really, for any business owner on the recruiting side. I tell everybody all the time, just hire a recruiter if you are able to. Have a recruiter be able to come in and do the recruiting. Um, Trying to do free ads on Indeed, or trying to do even the ad spend through Indeed.
Yep.
You're going to spin your wheels. But you gotta get a recruiter. You gotta get a guarantee. I think we had mentioned this once in the past, but that's really gonna be where you're gonna find most of your success. Because then when you just need to fill a spot, you can put it on the shopping list, right, and just get it over to them, and they know it's their pocket, it's their domain. Unless you have an in-house recruiter, that's gonna be your best bet, because you can spend a ton of time. I tell you right now. Now, I currently have a client that does not use a recruiter, and I'm the one spending all of my time on Indeed, going through applications. And then again, you got to try to keep the cost down. So I'm not doing all the ad spend on Indeed. I'm doing the free ones. You can get away with doing the free ones. So let's kind of break it up like that. Let's say, hey, if I'm brand new and I don't have a budget, right? Because here's the deal: them recruiters are going to cost a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to want about $20,000 or 15%. They'll give you a nice guarantee. Usually they try to do 30-day. You can get them up to 90-day.
Yep.
Sometimes you can get them up to a year. I know one of them out there is doing up to a year. So they're going to cost a lot, but they want 15% of the salary, right? And then that's a big chunk of change. So for a mom and pop, that's not going to be easy for them to foot that bill.
Not at all.
Now you can go the Indeed route. Indeed, everybody's on Indeed. Indeed is a good option for this, and it's a good resource. The thing with Indeed is you got two ways you can go about it. You can pay, which they want you to sponsor every single job posting. And when you sponsor the job posting, there's definitely a charge. They have tried to throw in new alternatives that says, hey, if you reject this within so much time, you're not going to be charged.
Yep.
That's a good feature. Now, if you're a mom and pop shop and you got somebody that's not their main focus, you're going to let that time lapse. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get charged for Bobby or Billy Bob that you didn't even want to be on your freaking list. Yep. So from there, at that point, I mean, you can go the free route too, right? Just post up the ad. Don't sponsor it. You will get traction unless you just live in the woods.
Yep.
But you'll definitely get traction. And then here on the other side, search resumes. Go on there and you can go through project searches, and you can just type it in what you're looking through within a mile radius. You can search them and you can send them invites personally yourself. Now, Indeed does a ton of this stuff on the paid side. where you can just click and it'll pull up all close resumes and it has you match them all. And you can get through about 50 of them a day. And then it's a grind, right? So, and that's literally what I do for one client who I know their budget and we're trying to keep it down. And I said, this is a way you can do it, which is you go in there, you pull them all up, pull within, 25, 50-mile radius, depending where you're at, and you send them a bunch of invites. Now, the cool thing about that is pretty much like throwing a bunch of lines out there. Some will respond immediately. And then all of a sudden you're 3 months down the road, 4 months down the road, and you got, the guy you really wanted, he's now responding, right? Because something popped up at work where he's at and he doesn't want to be there anymore. So I would say on that side, on the recruiting side, that would be the best way to go. You can use, I could tell you about, things like Applicant Pro, where they have job boards where it will post every single job board out there at once.
Yep.
I've used it, had no really much success. Indeed was actually included on it, but all the other ones really weren't much success on it. So for me, my go-to is always going to be number one, if you have the budget, go with a recruiter, eliminate the headaches so you ain't got to deal with it. They do all the work and get a good guarantee, or go with Indeed. If you still don't get a good budget for the mom and pop, go the free route and you will get good traction on it. You can find some good talent on there. Now, here's the thing. You're going to get them, right? And maybe we'll talk about this next. And
we will talk about this next.
So yeah, so you'll get the talent in. That's phase one. And then we'll discuss phase two here in a second.
Absolutely. So a quick note on that, and this is going to be controversial here, what everybody thinks, but what are your guys' opinion on companies poaching people?
Yeah, I'll let Tom go on this one first, because I literally just had a meeting with a company last week about this.
Well, and we're a pretty good sized fish down in South Florida with the sister company that I'm with here around the clock, and most of the time those people are coming to us and saying, hey, see your ads on television, are you hiring anybody, things like that. So probably more so of that happening for us
than going out and finding them.
So going the other way.
Yeah. So I've talked to a lot of companies about this, and this is right. We can speak freely here. I'm gonna sure as hell I'm going to. I've recommended it to people, right? But guys, it's in good ethics, right? It's if you can offer them something better, right? You're not going in there, you're not trashing the company they're working for. It's, hey, well, you're a producer. I wanted to run this across your desk, right? I'm writing this specific thing that's in my mind right now. I'm talking about a salesperson, right? There's a company out of South California that wanted to hire a sales guy to work with us as a firm. He didn't have the people to take the volume, right? And we talked about that, him going to these other companies, right? And it's like, listen, if you can offer them something better, you're not, I won't even think of it as poaching, right? You're simply, hey, I know you're a producer. This is the opportunity that I have. I don't know if it's better than what you currently got, but I'd love to, because you're, as an employee, you're serving them. You're there for that, right? They may work for you, but you're going to work for them. Right. So how can you offer them? And once again, it's got to be done right. You don't go in, like, I would never recommend anybody going somewhere and trashing. Well, they know this and this, and do we do it better over here? Like, one, if you're a real quality individual, an employee, and you hear that, you're like, nope, I'm not going to work for you. Right? Like, why would I never go 10 feet within somebody that's going to come in and, you know what I mean? So
100%.
I think in bounds, if you can do it the right way, and let that in, and that individual is going to tell you yes or no one way or the other. Don't overpromise. Tell them what you can offer, right? We've done that for sales here in the firm, right? Because I try and step away from that. And the way I describe it to people or an individual, even if they're selling on another offer or another company or, whatever they may be doing, right? It's, hey, I'm stepping away from the sales side. I need you. I'm going to give my job right now is keep my plate full, and the other sales guy's plate full right now. It's going to be to keep yours full. Like, that's just the goal. We don't have a huge team here. This is what I can do for you, right? I don't know if it's better than what you currently have, but we have these things in place where, you can build a book of business or whatever it might be, right? This is what I have. Better, if it's better, great. Let's do it. Let's look at options. If it's not, I get it. Like, this is what I can offer. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. That's my thoughts on the topic.
Yeah. So I would say this in the industry. So I've been doing some hiring for at least, I'd say 15, 17 years. I've been part of the whole recruiting, hiring, not on a recruiting team, but just in management itself. And I've done it from white collar to blue collar. And I would say, honestly, it's gotten really bad now, and everybody knows why, right? The pool is just getting very, very light, especially on the trade side.
Yeah.
Everybody was taught to go to college, and then the trades kind of got forgotten. So now we are at that phase where a lot of the old heads are retiring.
Yep.
And getting out of the trades, or they just want to get into management because it's just hard on their body.
Yep.
And now the younger kids are just not really there. But here's the thing is, when you have these kids now that are coming out, we live in a very, and I'm just going to definitely speak freely on this one. We live in a very entitlement society.
Absolutely.
And individuals that don't have the skill set are feeling that they're entitled to, and I get it though. So, I mean, this would go so many directions as far as, minimum wage and the cost of living and all that. We get that as business owners.
Yep.
And we absolutely have an onboarding process for that. But at the same rate is, you no longer even got to poach somebody else. These kids are they're smart now that they just leverage you against the other.
Yeah.
Meaning, and this happens to us time and time again, which it gets super frustrating. But I kind of had a talk with a previous client of mine in the area where I'm at now, and because it was funny because they were a prior client and now I'm with another client, and one of the things I ended up kind of just letting them know was it breeds a really tough ground for recruiting all in general for everybody in the area, because now what's happening is all the wages are going up and
Yep.
the skill is going down.
Yep.
So, for instance, kids now will leverage a job offer onto their current employer. So, and it's a really snake way to do it. But I guess you could say slick, you could say snake, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But they're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, I got X amount of years. What can you give me? Oh, man. And I always ask everybody, well, where do you need to be on your starting wage? Right. And if they're going to tell me, hey, I need to be at $35 an hour, I'm going to say, okay, based off your skill set, I can see we could get you there. I know we can invest a little bit more training into you. Yep. I do understand where we are in the economy. And potentially down the road, I can see you at 35.
Yep.
Knowing that they're probably only making about 25 to 30 where they're currently at.
Yep.
So what they do is they take that, okay, send me the job offer, take that job offer. They go back to the employer and say, hey, look, this is what I have. I need you to match this or I'm out. So to them, it's no loss. They just position themselves very well. And it's a smart thing to do for an employee.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is so common that probably out of the, I'd say probably out of the 20 employees I interview in a month, I'd probably say about a good 80% of them, that's their tactic now. And then, so at that point, just a quick little story. At that point, I scheduled a meeting because it happened to this one company all the time. I said, hey, listen, let me talk to the owner. And I jumped on the phone and I said, man, we got to work this thing out. Like, I want you to know what I know, really what's happening. They're just leveraging, you guys. They're leveraging our job offers against you guys. They're going to keep driving that up on you. If they're unhappy there, you might as well just cut the cord. Like if somebody comes to me with a job offer, I'm going to say, I wish you the best of luck. Have a good life. Right. I'm not going to fight to try to keep them on because something led them to that point to want to dismiss themselves.
Correct.
So in general, at the end of the day, he and I came to the agreement that, hey, listen, if that does take place, this is what will happen. I told him, I say, if I do see somebody coming from your company applying to us, it's already put a sour taste in our mouth. We don't even look at applicants now coming from that company.
Yep.
Because it just wastes a lot of my time and wastes a lot of our resources.
Yep.
So I think on the poaching side, I think it's one of them things where we're just in another time where it almost really doesn't even have to happen. They're just so smart. They're smart now that they're leveraging themselves because they know that they are needed.
Yeah.
So
I guess
at least in the trade companies.
In the situation that makes complete sense because I talked to the conversations that I've had have been way more based around sales guys, right? And that's a little bit. I mean, in my eyes, that's a little bit different, right? Because they can produce anywhere, right? And they determine their income, right? So are they going to do it for you or somebody else,
right?
So I guess that makes sense because those are the conversations that I've had versus like just regular skilled tradesmen who you can't find. That's just been very light discussions that I've had because that is not, obviously I don't do that, right? That's sales and marketing.
It's tough out there, man.
So that makes sense.
They get out there and that's the thing is, trade schools are trying to push it. You're starting to see a lot more commercials out there trying to get tradesmen in there.
Yeah.
So anybody who's listening that obviously is in the trades,
Yeah.
you can't pick up the $17 an hour apprentice anymore. I mean, apprentices are starting at $20 an hour.
Yep.
So, and that never was the case. I mean, the owner of the company that I was helping was falling out of his seat because he's old school, right? He's like, oh my gosh, right? He's like, man, they were $10 an hour back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sir, not happening.
Yeah, that reminds me. I don't know if I told you guys this story. That reminds me of that older gentleman that calls me at least once every 2 months, asking about services, and he doesn't remember that he called me the month before. He still does yellow pages, and I tell him like cost of digital. Where'd Tom go? I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, I'm out.
I tell him the cost of digital, and he like blows his mind. He's like, yellow pages never used to run me that much.
Right, yellow pages. But you gotta love when that happens.
I know, it's freaking hilarious. And then we have the same discussion. I don't know if I told this story, so I won't spend any time on it. But we have the same discussion every time. I know who he is when he calls. He's like 97.
Oh man, wow,
dude, yeah, and he's still in the office every day. Like his team definitely has to know. They're like, Dad, do your thing, hey, Dad. He's in there calling marketing companies trying to make stuff happen.
Right, they call him a Biden. He's good.
So funny.
That's amazing. I love it.
But yeah, that's kind of a similar situation. But anyway, in terms of old school, like he's a guy that's not going to adjust, though. He's going to just stick with the time.
Yeah. Hey, and that's the thing, man. And that's what, the way they remember it, we get them and you can break it all down 5 ways from Sunday as far as, economy, housing and all that.
Yeah.
So we do get it. We do understand it. But as far as you're going through your recruiting and hiring, I'd say phase 1 would definitely be through Indeed. Try the free ads. If you're smaller, if you're bigger, go with the recruiting and see people like, oh, you don't need to hire out for that. Absolutely hire out for that.
Yeah, I have 100%.
I've done it every other way, and you're just going to save so much more time and money by hiring out for it. So
correct. So let's kind of jump into the next stage. So you got the talent in, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just and you can touch on little points along this if you want to, Jay. So let's say you hired the talent, right? Now you have to keep the talent and make sure they're performing, right? That's a whole nother ball of wax. I mean, that's more going to be your grounds than mine. And Tom, obviously, you have stuff to add as well. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so when you get the talent in, definitely you got to keep them. The way you're going to keep people is money. I mean, it's as cliche as it sounds, it really is. Money talks. You can't bring somebody in at $20 an hour. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to stay. They're going to find something else, and somebody will give it to them. Yeah. So if you do have that talent that you find and you want to keep them, give them the wage that they're asking, right? As long as it's within reason, you got to make it make sense. Outside of that, you now got to have a good structure. And this is where a lot of trade companies, this is where they mess up. You got to have a good system plugged in place. If they're out there as a technician, they need to be producing. If they're maintenance, then they deserve a maintenance wage. So you got to make sure you have a healthy understanding of what that looks like. So you can't be paying a technician, $25, $30 an hour, and they're not producing anything.
Correct.
So to make sure that they're producing, you just got to have a good system and process in place. Something where that, they're going out there, you got the leads, your capacity is accurate. You got enough work for them, and you're not, please, any contractor that's listening, do not mass hire and then fire and just keep your skilled employees. That is a really bad model. And it just kind of disrupts the entire pool for everybody else. We have a couple companies in our area that does that right now, and it's constant every year, and they just mass hire a bunch of people, and then they keep their top ones and they wipe the bottom out and then send them on their way. And it's a model that's been around forever, and a lot of people do it, but it's just not good, man. I mean, take the time and pick the people. But anyways, you get them in, you work with them, get them on a system, and to get them producing, you have to have that. That's up to the employer to make sure. You can take anybody. Make sure you're hiring based off personality, character, and ethics and core values. Don't hire based off technical. Technical, you can train. Yep. Obviously, if you can get both, that's a winner.
Yep.
And then once they are in there, like I said, plug that system in there. And then you have to have a path of progression for them laid out in the beginning. They got to have a direction. If they don't know how to go from phase 1 to phase 5, and there's no pay increases that they can aim for and go for, they're going to find something else. People don't like flying blind. And then secondly, and that's going to help them produce. And then secondly, stay away from commission based on your technicians and try to keep it based on hourly, because they put a lot of time out there. And I get that the overtime is going to go up, but as long as they keep seeing their paychecks, this will keep them to stick, right? Because they cannot go nowhere else to make that type of money that they make with you.
Yep.
We had 3 technicians last year alone acquire up to about $15 an hour in increases.
Yeah.
And that's base pay. So, and that's huge, man, to make $15 more. You start at 30 and now you're making 45 within 1 year. I mean, that's pretty big. So
yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. And Tom, if you have anything, please cut me off. But I was just kind of thinking while you're, walking through that, if I'm putting myself in that shoes, and right, like that's not in my ballpark, but if I'm putting myself in the shoes of an HVAC owner, bringing on a technician, the big thing that you mentioned that I was kind of wondering, obviously the path progression, right? Because if an ambitious person gets in there, they have to have something they're shooting for, right? Yeah. Otherwise, I personally would get bored, right? If I was an awesome HVAC technician and I would get what's next, So not only getting them in and keeping them, to have a goal in the next 5 steps, but also, whether, I don't know if it'd be anything in terms of like helping them obviously improve upon their, their skills that they already have, right? With training or things of that nature.
Absolutely.
Just creating a better, I don't know, just a bit more, it was more like personal development. Like I said, that may be too touchy-feely for the trades, right? Because I mean, even in sales, it's which is obviously more of, and even my team, something I always ask people, and I don't know where I heard this, but my really key players, I'll bring them in. They'll be with me for an extended amount of time. I get a feel of, okay, this is somebody who, this is going to be a leadership role in the company, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever area that they're in. Then I'll sit down and I'll have a conversation. And this is maybe getting a little touchy-feely for people, but it's like, hey, what do you want with, what are your goals for the next 5 years in terms of like, what do you want everything to look like, whether it's your pay or what you do with your family or whatever. And then I find a way to integrate that into their role in the business. So they feel like they're accomplishing their goals, right? They don't feel like they have to go anywhere. Their pay increases are attached to it, right? It's all together. I don't know. That's just,
that's it.
But I was, I don't know if that can be applied in the trades like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, people, you're seeing it now. If you go out on Indeed or anywhere and you're looking, people are offering flex schedules, right? Because to people, family life balance is important. Client I'm with, we completely stripped out no on-call, no weekends, right? We're the first company in the area to do that. And we get phone calls from other companies like, our guys are telling us that they want no on-call, no weekends, or they're going to go to you guys. Now, so companies, and we're the highest paid and we have no on-call, no weekends. I mean, you can't beat that as a technician. Correct. But the thing is, people are so stuck in the way of doing it. Now, that's how you keep your people to stick, right? And that's how you keep good talent. And then what happens back to what Tom was saying is talent can promote and bring in more talent and recruit more talent. And that's what happens is then you get the guys coming in like, dude, I'm working Monday through Friday, got my 45, 50 hours in a week if I want it, right? And then, that's it. I ain't working weekends at night. Why their buddies calling them at, 10 p.m., 12 o'clock, asking for technical help. He's like, dude, don't call me, right? I'm in bed. But they're so used to working that world, and owners of companies don't understand that. If you sit down and you look at the numbers don't even come close to making sense on call and weekends. Not even relatively close.
Correct.
And then, so if you can justify to give back to your employee in that way, you are cutting just a small bit out. I'm talking small bit. Sometimes companies are going under or going red when they're running that overtime and not collecting.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, these are ways that you're going to be able to keep
that's a way. I mean, I think that's a massive touch point too, right? Because that's one that's not financial, but it's massive.
Yeah.
Because
family life balance, people want that now.
Yeah, 100%. And that'll be leveraged over money in the long run.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Think about it. Everybody's doing this homesteading, right? You're getting this really feel for people, humans in general, going back to like the 20s and 30s, right? Correct. They just want to start living simple again. Yeah. And if you can, I think we've kind of passed the age. I don't see it no more, and I don't even feel it myself personally. Of everybody wanting to be the entrepreneur with the the $2 to $10 million spirit, right? Yeah. I feel like that was like 5-10 years ago, and I think now a lot of people are shifting more into just a simple homesteading type of mentality. So if you can accommodate that in any way,
Yep.
You know,
I
to
think
get
so
them
too.
less
I think
hours.
even side note here, but I think even in like the entrepreneur space, you unplug every phone in your office.
That's funny. I mean, man, who has that old school phone?
You know, if you're just listening on a podcast, Tom has a call center in his office.
Yeah, exactly.
What
I was wondering.
what I was gonna say, even in the entrepreneur space, right? Because like I mean, obviously, I'm in the more like new age, like everything's digital, right? And like even my company, right? Everything's digital, right? Everybody's remote. But even in that stage, what I've seen is a shift from like it's all time freedom. So even if there are kids that like they'll text me or they're whatever, like how did you do this or whatever, like I'm interested in doing something like this. Or let's say even if they're coming to me for a sales role, right? Like they can be anywhere. I don't care if they close deals in Thailand, right?
Yeah,
which is huge for guys that are, you know, my age and younger. They want to be like it's not even the money thing that's so much attractive. Some guys it is, right? But it's more of the I can go wherever I want, whenever 100%. I want. I'm looking for simple, like, you know, I spoke with a guy the other week. We didn't end up hiring him. He was a little bit off of a fit for us, but it was really cool talking to him because he lives in Hawaii for like 7 months out of the year, loves to surf. He just surfs. He currently works for a fitness company. Like he's a salesman, but it's all remote, right? Not to go too off topic into the digital world, but like that is what he wants. Right.
Absolutely.
And yeah, he is a good salesperson. So yes, he does make good money. Right. But, you know, he also surfs every day and lives in Hawaii 7 months out of the year. It's like, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. His mentality isn't going to be, I'm going to grind 12 hours a day. That's not his mentality. That's not where I would say his passion is at.
Correct.
We all, and I think we all are the same way. And this is where humans are very on this even plane, not to get too weird, but we all never wake up and say, I want to work my life away. I've never spoken to one human being that has said that to me. No. And I've met a lot of people. Yeah. Unless they just are in a really bad marriage. Yeah. I don't know, man. You know, I need to go to work.
You guys ever see that? You guys see that We Are the Millers or whatever? He goes to get a haircut.
Yeah.
It's like, I get up, I work 9 to 5 to take care of my miserable wife and my kids. And he's like, the guy in the back goes, right here.
Yeah. That's exactly how it is, right? So, I mean, the quickest way to get to somebody and to talk to them, and that's why I do enjoy doing a lot of interviews and recruiting, because you can have that conversation with them, find out about their family, find out about their life. You got that young kid that's 20 years old, ain't got a, you know, he's got that passion, that drive. That's cool, man. And we'll always work off from that to help them build.
Yep.
But we also want to be mentors to these young ones and show them that it's not about grinding your life away. You know, so in the recruiting process and getting them to stick to, if you can offer those avenues to where you can give them that family life balance, you'll be all right.
100%.
And the tough part about it is it's definitely an employee market. Mm-hmm. And as opposed to when unemployment's really high, obviously it's more of an employee or market. But this standpoint of like, you got these texts, it's like, well, I can go to Wendy's and make $20 an hour as opposed to being a schlepper and crawling around in an attic at 104 degrees in the summertime in Florida.
Yep. That's it, man.
It's but most people, you know, humans want to be around people that make them feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
Positive work environment. We all need money to pay our bills and things like that. But it's really, to your point, Jason, it's not just pay. It's environment, it's structure, it's advancement. It's a complete package of they want to feel like that they're welcome, wanted, important at the company, and that they're appreciated, and that they're, you know, there's room for advancement and there's training, and you know, it's more of an art, to your point of having the recruiter that knows that whole game, as opposed to just saying, hey, I'll give you X amount of dollars an hour and, you know, we can start you on Monday.
Yep.
Correct.
That's it. I
think I don't think complicated is the right word, but guys, I mean it in a good way. But I think maybe keeping good people and creating a good team and holding that team has become much more complex, right? Right.
100%. The world is so different now.
Yeah.
And the younger generation, you know, used to be, you know, at my age, you looked upon in a positive light if you were with a company for 15 years or 20 years
Yeah.
or 25 years. And now these kids, the younger generation, this like stepping stones. It's like,
Yep.
I was here for a year. I was here for 15 months. I was here for 16 months.
That's it.
Just
That's it. Stepping
moving.
stone. So that's the big one right there too. But that's going back. That ties back to what Colin's saying as far as and I know it's a cliche question, like, hey, where do you want to be in 5 years, right? But I don't ask that one, but within conversation and getting to know somebody, connecting with them in an interview, I do want to find out, like, hey, I'm talking to them about their family. I'm talking about who they are. Like, where do you get your sense of purpose, and where do you feel accomplished? Like that feeling of accomplishment, what does that look like to you?
Correct.
And that's where people, if they can just be recognized for something, they'll stick around with a good culture, right?
Yep.
And to Tom's point,
it costs $0 for an employer to say, Colton, great job today. You really busted it today. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here, and thank you very much for a great job today.
Yep. I completely agree.
Zero.
I think a lot of times as owners, you find yourself as like more of a cheerleader than anything, right? I heard one of my bosses way back when I don't even
cheerleader, babysitter.
Yeah, right.
Definitely a little bit of both.
Yeah, but yeah, no. And to your point, real quick, too, Jay's tying everything kind of back in when you said stepping stone too. But not only stepping stones and finding that out, but how can I make that in this business where you stay here and it's the business, the company, my business itself doesn't become a stepping stone to you to the next
right to the next level, exactly.
But
100%.
Oh, I think we kind of covered the board. So to recap, right? So getting the talent in, right? And I made a few notes here, Jason. Feel free to add anything. But obviously, if you have the capital, a recruiter is going to be fantastic. If you're, either if you're a smaller company that has capital or you're, you're existing, you have it, go the recruiter route. Take some stress off your life. Otherwise, Indeed, the Indeed direction, that's something Jason's used personally. He can attest to. Not only that, but the free option as well if you are working within a budget, right? And then what was the other? There was the third one that you mentioned, Jason.
I mean, you can use things like Applicant Pro, which is a job board.
Yep, that's what it was. So something like that, and then getting that talent in, and then giving them clear steps, giving them everything they need to stay there and want to be there and want to grow within the company instead of going elsewhere. So obviously, good culture, the right training, easy to see progression, right, in terms of goals, not only in financial world, but also, in benefit, giving them things like, we used a very good example, like no on-call, no weekends, right? That is going to be huge. If the tech looks at a company that has that versus doesn't, they're going to go with the one that has that.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So that very, very easy there. Anything else that you guys think would be worthwhile?
Yeah. So, and just to that, and to kind of try to wrap it up for you guys, is at the end of the day, we just did this. We took the top 50 companies in our area and we looked at what they were offering for benefits, right? That is a huge thing now.
Yeah.
So the no on call, no weekends is a big, one to bring people in. So that's going to help bring you some good talent, but also too, as far as almost everybody's paying for medical now. At least in our area. So they're paying 100% medical. And, on top of that, they're giving allowances, like for tools and boots and things like that.
Yeah.
And these were the most common. I mean, people are giving a ton of stuff across the board, but for the most common, it's going to be your medical. It's going to be your tools and boots. It's going to be the 3 weeks of vacation. Again, that goes back to just people want family time. So you got to really look at your benefits package, and you got to highlight that on your job postings. So, and that's the other thing too. There's so many softwares now, ChatGPT, anything that can write you a beautiful job description post to put on Indeed.
Yep.
Don't put something generic, and please don't put gaps on your offering, right? Like, hey, you can make $60,000 to $150,000. Everybody knows that's bullshit, right?
Yep.
So be realistic, be transparent, be upfront, because people will pass you over when they see that.
Correct.
100% of the time, because it's one of the marketing schemes that has been to the wayside. And I see it all the time. People are still using the same thing out there. And good talent's just looking you over, and you could be a great company to work for.
Correct. Yeah, and it was just that one touch point that they're not even going to give you a look because of it.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. No, awesome, guys. Well, I will wrap this up here.